Hello and welcome to Inside Today. I am Jumai Manson. Today, our keen focus is on the detrimental effect of abusive language from parents to their children. It's very sensitive, huh? Don't go anywhere. The program continues shortly.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumain Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and it repeats every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
You're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Inside Today on Global Television. And I'm being joined by Mrs. Ruby Rose Mariboa, and she is a social entrepreneur, a CEO and founder, CHC Agri-Tech in Abuja. Now, I want us to understand that this is a very sensitive issue because most parents actually indulge in this particular behavioral pattern. Now, using abusive language towards children can have a detrimental effect on their mental and emotional well-being. When parents use hurtful words or language towards the children, it can lead to low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and even behavioral issues. Now, children who experience verbal abuse from their parents may struggle with trust, have difficulties forming healthy relationships, and may internalize the negative words spoken to them. It can also impact their academic performance and overall development. Creating a supportive and nurturing environment is crucial for a child's emotional growth and well-being. And like I said, I am being joined by Mrs. Ruby Rose. Hi, Mrs. Ruby. How are you doing today?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm honored to be here. And
It's great to have you on the program. Thank you for joining in.
yes, and I look forward to share my personal insights as well as also help in exploring solutions together.
Okay. Now we're looking at the detrimental effect of abusive language from parents to the children. How do you think abusive language from parents affect the child's self-esteem?
Mm-hmm. Jumai, Mandela said actually that the children are our greatest treasure for our future. And on that aspect, I would say that abusive language can severely damage a child's self-esteem. In fact, according to a study published in Journal of Emotional Abuse, children who are mostly exposed to verbal abuse exhibit significantly lower self-esteem and compared to those who are subjected to such treatments. So, like calling negative terms like you're an idiot, or I'm sorry to say that. I mean, words that are you're worthless or stupid, common amongst parents, sometimes out of our stress every day, can lead to internalized negative self beliefs of these children. And when it's a habit, becomes a habit over time, these children may actually develop some persistent belief that they are actually unloved or inadequate enough, which can impact their overall confidence in their daily living in the future and the ability to be more achieve more potential in the future.
All right, Mrs. Ruby Rose. You know, we here in Africa, we have that mentality when when we express our emotions. Now, can you tell us, do you think there are any emotional impact that verbal abuse by parents have on their children to last a lifetime?
Okay, verbal abuse can cause a range of emotional impacts, including these are feelings of shame, feelings of guilt, fear, and most especially sadness. So the American Psychological Association states that children who experience verbal abuse are more likely to develop emotional problems like depression and anxiety. So that's why you see the way they treat their children there is differently. They use more, better positive words. And then, for example, a child who is
Mm-hmm.
constantly yelled at may feel anxious and stressed,
Mm-hmm.
always worrying about making mistakes. So it becomes like they have these panic attacks whenever they see home or they're already inside the house. And these emotional
Mm-hmm.
wounds can linger and affect the child's overall well-being over time, potentially actually can lead to long-term psychological issues.
No. Okay, when you say long-term psychological issues, what are you looking at? Is it his way when he um, relates with his friends, growing up, trying to find the right pairs, and all of that? Is that what you mean?
Yes, there are many psychological issues there, even dealing with your own relationships in the future, the way you treat others. It will definitely affect you in your decision making because of this consistent, yeah.
You know, many people, especially in Nigeria here, you know, when we pass the message, we say some subtle words that parents don't really mean. Sometimes a parent might say an abusive word. I think that's their form of showing love. In a way. So, with that, do you think it's going to affect the child's behavior in any way, or how will it influence the child's psychological way of thinking?
Yes, actually, children subjected to such abusive language is a variety of behavioral issues. Although some children that are smart enough over time, they will, when they become a parent themselves, they will think of it that, oh, that's how my parent loved me way back then.
Exactly.
You know, the idea is that we are an output, we are a product of our parents who are actually mentored by their parents 20 or 30 years back. So the problem there lies that what if it's no longer efficient or effective in during the time where we are? Because imagine 20 to 30 years back, that's about 2 to 3 decades of obsolete effective communication on parenting, right? So still, for instance, a child who is frequently belittled, like maybe bully peers as a way of uh, what's this to cope with their own feelings or powerlessness. Sometimes parents can be bullies, and this can affect the the attitude of the child also. So when the child feels that insecurity, he will also find somebody to bully when he goes out of the house, because he has to make himself feel comfortable. Everyone has an ego, even a child has. Yeah.
Now, I want to look at this critically mentality. Growing up, some children are used to a particular abusive language. And then when they grow up, they make fun of it and they're like, oh, growing up, that is what it was. Our parents use this particular word when growing up in the home front. Now, in what ways can children's behavior be influenced by abusive language at home?
Okay. You said I didn't hear you very well on that. Can you come again? You said something at home? Sorry.
Yes, I said, in what ways can children's be influenced by abusive language at home?
Okay, for instance, a child who is frequently said bad words at home can really exhibit a variety of behavioral issues. So these social interactions can lead to an impact to his own interaction also outside of it. So this can overly, they can become like um eager to, I mean, they instilled some fears in them that they may be just not feeling so confident in opening up, because they feel that even if I open my mouth. I remember a neighbor that every time her parent would be asking her a question, or the parent already has concluded in his mind and in her mind that the child has made a mistake. So instead of that to be an opportunity for the child to open up, to confide into the parent would just no longer listen to the child. And so it will even end up to beating. And so the child feels that even though I explain things, it's worthless. So it becomes a habit over time that the child
Mm-hmm.
will no longer want to confide into parents. And that's where the problem begins, when the communication gap is there.
I do not know. You know, you being a foreigner and the African mentality, do you think it has the same lineup when it comes to the effect of verbal abusive language from parents to their children? Is it the same thing? Does it happen to a foreigner also who is not African or in Nigeria? Is it the same thing that happens?
Well, growing up in the Philippines, we are somehow like the Nigerian parents. Our parents are very disciplinarians, and they can call us also certain names, negative terms as well, especially when the parents are very, very stressed already. However, growing up, I also had a balance. My mom is the disciplinarian one, and then my dad was the more of like how would I say, is the one that always appreciates, and then
Mm-hmm.
puts in the role
Mm-hmm.
of a neutral person into that. And
Okay.
so every time maybe my mom scolds me, my dad will come and explain things to me. So it's okay to
Okay.
scold them, but come on, let's explain things to our children, why things have happened, why
Mm-hmm.
we have called them such names. And as much as possible, let's be optimistic in using words, because words are powerful. So
Yes,
selection
they
of
are.
words is important.
Now let's look at verbal abuse. Now, I think it has more volume from parent to the child. Now let us talk about the mental health. How does it affect the mental health of the child? Hear their mom or their dad saying some abusive words that can either mar or make that particular child. How does it affect the mental health of that child in society and within or outside his peers?
Mental health is a very big issue now in the world, not just in Nigeria, not just in Asia. And a journal of affective disorders indicates that children who are verbally abused are at a more higher risk of developing anxiety and depression, just like how I
Wow.
explained earlier. And imagine low self-esteem. And this is a very competitive world that we have. Imagine if your child has that low self-esteem and is always depressed, always, and then he was not able to confide to you as a parent. And we always say parents knows best. So the best person to give an advice to children are the parents. So what if these children now channels that seeking of attention to other people, like peers, that will not really guide them properly. So a child who is constantly criticized may develop anxiety about new things, or speaking up in class, instead of speaking up even though she knows the answer. When a teacher calls her, she will no longer respond to that, because of the fear of having that negative judgment, which she or he gets always at home. And over time, these mental health issues, they pile up and can affect the academic performance and even social relationships of the child.
Okay, well explained. Now, what does let's look at the long-term effect. Can abusive language have on a child's development? Let's say, like you mentioned, affect the academics and all of that. When it comes to engaging, being sociable with friends, peers, and all of that. Now, let's look at the child's development. Does it have anything to do with the child's development, like as in developing in society?
Yes, it has actually. And you know, over time, when we always hear those foul words, negative words, we think of it as the truth. It becomes part of the child's culture. And so um, we say what is the input also becomes the output, except maybe for cases like when this child has been mentored by some people, but in most cases, what we become, what we were told, or what we were educated for. So for instance, an adult who has experienced verbal abuse as a child may struggle with self-worth and confidence. So this can impact their career and personal life, even their next children, the future generation. So they might also have difficulty in trusting others, and
Yes.
maintaining this stable relationship. And in everything we do, whether it's business, whether we have a relationship, whether it's intimate relationship, partnership, trust is important. And when
Okay.
you're not free to give your trust, it affects you, yeah, for long term.
No, talking about trust now. Now, what role does trust play in the relationship between parents and children affected by abusive language? Now, a child who has grown up in a very toxic family home, that the parents, all they do is lash right, left, center with abusive language. Now, trusting that parent, how does it affect the child in when developing?
We say that trust is the fundamental, is very fundamental, or is the foundation of every relationship, and that includes the parent child relationship. And verbal abuse can severely damage this trust. So children rely on their parents for support, for guidance, for love. That as children, as we are children before, that's what we expect from our parents. We just expect them that
Exactly.
they'll keep loving us, support us, guide us. And when this is not there, when it's not there, it can lead to you feel that can lead to insecurity and fear. So, for instance, a child who cannot trust their parents may hesitate to open up, just like I've mentioned, and confide to them. And they have to look for support, because we as human beings, we like to be heard. We like to get to be supported, right? So this can lead to isolation and further emotional distress. So you can imagine if you have a child who is like, they just want to be more alone because they feel that it's better to be alone. I can find my peace than to be with my parents who mocks me, who negatively tells me things that is not even true. And I feel that whatever I say, they will have something to tell me that I'm worthless, and I'm not enough. So that breaks the trust. And so they tend to trust others more than their parents.
Very true. Now, looking at this, Ruby Rose, in our society where we find ourselves, especially the African society, we understand that we cannot talk back when our parents are saying something to us, whether we like it or not. We keep mute and we just watch and we just allow them voice out whatever. Now, at this point in time, knowing that technology has taken over, there's this Gen Z, people have different bringing up their children. At that point, when is a child supposed to say something like, don't use hurtful words when it, or just what should the child do at that point, even when the child has been affected by these verbal abuses?
I think as parents, we should start treating our children like adults. So the way forward, because the children now, as early as a very young age, they are no longer the same as how the children of before. In fact, development
Mm,
is as at every early stage. You can see a 3-year-old already knows how to respond like an adult to a parent. So going forward, I would the Gen Zs are so they have all the information they need in just a tap of their fingers. They can Google it. They can go to anywhere and find out the answer for everything. You know. So as a parent, so we just have to be open minded and then talk to them like young adults and make them always involve them, make them part, but always also have that gap that hey, there are things that at this level, at this stage. I also like to say that just like I've said, the parenting uh, style that we have is mostly based on the 20, 30 years parents that trained us. So it's also nice to look at impactful practices from other parents and look at it how it would also be used for your own children. Like
yeah,
now
very.
recently, beating the children, I mean, yeah, hurting them physically, saying all those bad words, it's not as efficient as it was back then, so and it has really some impact disorder that can lead to disorder problems, yeah, in the
Oh,
future.
oh,
You don't want that
all
for your
right. All right, Ruby Rose, quickly now, for a family out there who wants to start afresh, who wants to be better, especially in their parenting style, do you think it's too late to make amends, as in retrace your step and speak nice things to your children instead of the abusive and negative ones? Do you think there's still hope for those families?
there's a saying says that it's better to correct children than to repair broken men. And so, as long as they are children, they are child, you are a parent, you've grown more than them, you've seen the world more than them. So you know what is best for your child. There's never like too late. And it's a matter of acceptance. It's a matter of knowing that my child needs me more, and that love, support, and guidance, even
Exactly.
though with all the stress, with all the what is happening in the world, with all your problems. Every parent is not perfect, of course. We have hustles, we have struggles. So it's a matter of like
Exactly.
engaging your children and sharing to them that I too is a human being. So as they are growing, they will understand that. And when they become parents themselves too, they understand you more.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ruby Rose Maroboa. I am so grateful you came out of the program and to share your well of experience with us today. Thank you so much for being a part of Insight today. And of course, Mrs. Ruby Rose, she is a social entrepreneur, CEO, and founder of CHC Architect. Thank you so much in Abuja. So thank you so much for being a part of the program. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Jumai, for having me, and I look forward to sharing solutions for the best for Nigeria and Africa.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. To parents out there, you just heard from Mrs. Ruby Rose. She says verbal abuse can lead to low self esteem. Mostly, parents have to understand that these words go a long way in the lives of our children. We have to try as much as possible to control our anger issues in order for our children to become amazing individuals in our society. Really, depression and behavioral issues in children, it can hinder their emotional, social, psychological development. Thank you all so much for being a part of Insight today. I am Jumai Manson. Stay tuned for another episode tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Good afternoon.